Networking had been happening probably since my childhood of the career when I started, and I say that if the trees, the plantation which we do, is not for today, but we always do it for future.
Workflow is key right now. People are connecting. They're connecting digitally and in unique ways. They're coming together in any way they can. And so what I find interesting.
Socially, right? So this social media becoming a new channel and integrating social media with e-commerce like Facebook shops or TikTok.
Whatever else they're playing, that stuff is already there.
networking, professional relationship, growing, doing investment into the networking had been happening probably since my childhood of the career when I started. And I say that if the trees, the plantation which we do, it's not for today, but we always do it for future.
Workflow is key right now. People are connecting. They're connecting digitally and in unique ways. They're coming together in any way they can. And so what I find interesting.
Relay the message. People on the we are running a few minutes late.
Okay, I will.
No, they can't see us before he will do it, but they can hear him. So you can, yeah.
Okay, can you turn this on for a second? I'm sorry? Hello, everybody on the bridge and everybody in the room. Thank you for coming. We are experiencing a little technical difficulty that we are trying to resolve, so please hold on for a few minutes while we work through it. Thank you. Socially, right? So this social media becoming a new channel and integrating social media with e-commerce. first. First, like Facebook shops or, TikTok.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to get started. I'm going to take this opportunity and introduce myself. I'm Raj Chowdhury. I have 25 plus years in retail, e-com, and wholesale industries. Currently in the role of VP of Applications and BI at Town & Country. And I have got a number of different prior experience at C-level at Diane Warren Furstenberg, Li & Fung, Take-Two Interactives, the makers of Grand Theft Auto, if anybody is here from the gaming industry, but certainly have a lot of experience in this industry across various different platforms, ERPs, business intelligence as well. We have a very exciting set of sessions today. Very famous and well-known speakers. We got a lot of good panel discussions as well, and certainly would like your participation as we go along. And our first, I'm going to kind of, let me just talk, trying to coordinate. As I was saying, great agenda, exciting set of topics. A little bit about the meet. The meet, it's MEET, and it's organized. Meet has happened a few different such events. You're talking about 2 events that have happened. One is in US and another one in India since 2019. It's an informal industry forum that allows for experienced folks, busy folks to network. At the same time, give them a platform, a avenue for sharing information on various technologies, various business challenges that they might be facing, and essentially keep this information free flowing. So, it brings a lot of value from a networking and learning perspective. At the same time, if you look at, the promoters are industry thought leaders here. So very excited to be part of this journey here today. All right. Okay. Our first session is on SAP Business Technology Platform. And a little bit about our speaker. Let me introduce Steve Bickerton. Steve is the Senior Principal, SAP North American PNT and Center of Excellence. Steve has been employed by SAP since 2007 and has been involved in the SAP analytics ecosystems since 1999. He is currently working in the North American BTP COE, where he helps customers with their integration, data, and analytics concerns. He has been a regular contributor to the SAP. Glad the camera is not on. SAP HANA Executive Council, and is a regular blogger on SAP communities. Prior to SAP, Steve worked for 10 years in the investment banks, both at JP Morgan Chase and Goldman Sachs. Steve graduated with honors from Carleton University and has an MBA from University of Hartford with a specialization in finance. Please join me in welcoming Steve Bickerton.
Thanks so much. Great to hear my resume read out. I'm like, who is that guy? He sounds so cool. And it ends up, it's me. Like, wow. So first of all, thank you for having me. I used to live in New York City. I spent 10 years here. And so it's really exciting for me to come back. My first job was on Wall Street with Chase Manhattan Bank. And then I moved to Goldman Sachs and I was worked like a dog. Whoa. And I was worked like a dog, and I decided, okay, there has to be a better way. And I eventually ended up at SAP via an acquisition of Business Objects. But my kids were also born here. And one of my huge regrets, they were born in Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. They don't have the Brooklyn accent, so they don't sound like Tony Danza. So that's just life. So I've been around SAP for a good 15 years. And I've been through a lot of exciting product releases. So HANA was a really big deal for us. So basically, this is the data platform that we're going to put all our apps on. And it was insane amount of time or talk about HANA, and then came S/4HANA, and then some huge acquisitions in the marketplace like SuccessFactors, Concur, Ariba. But you know what's most exciting to me is the business technology platform. Not so much exciting for SAP, but exciting for you guys. So if I think back to my time in banking, there was so many crazy offline work paths that users used to do to get things done in a day. So workflows that just made no logical sense. BTP fixes so many of those, and it's going to be so exciting for customers to start to go down this path and solving these inefficient things in their enterprise. And BTP is going to help you do that. The three things I want you to get out of my 20 minutes up here. Number one, I want you to have a good understanding of what the business technology platform is. First and foremost, we don't call it the information technology platform, right? We don't call it the ITP. We call it the business technology platform. So there's a real hint. It's solving business issues, and it's solving business issues in a low code, no code kind of way. Second thing I want you is to get comfortable with is some customers that have been really successful with BTP and how they've done it. And we even had one customer go live in 7 days. We'll talk about that one in a sec. And then finally, I want you guys to start to think about your issues in your enterprise and the things that you can solve potentially with BTP. So let's get started. Now I'm going to try this clicker. It looked a little, okay, here we go. Oh, it's working. So I imagine there's a lot of customers out there that own S/4HANA, they own maybe C/4HANA or SuccessFactors, Ariba, Concur. If you think of what business technology platform is, it's the platform that allows all these applications to run and to communicate. So think of the analogy of a house. If you have a house that has a really good foundation, it's going to last a long time. It's going to be something you can build on. It's going to be something you can add on and develop, put additions on, who knows? And that's the same concept of the business technology platform. So it's allowing for the integration and extension of these lines of business applications quite easily. And if you think of something like even S/4HANA with ERP, everyone knows what ERP stands for, right? Enterprise Resource Planning. Well, the P in that planning is actually part of BTP. So if you're doing headcount planning in SuccessFactors or financial planning for S/4HANA, you're doing that actually in the BTP platform. Or if you're a sales manager and you're trying to figure out your sales profitability and you're looking at, okay, if I close this business, my margin's 32%. If I do this, it'll be 35%, only if margins were 35% again. That's actually using the analytics in the business technology platform. So some really cool stuff. For another example would be supply chain. So as I look at that crazy thing called supply chains and I look to onboard all my suppliers into my supply chain, well, that integration is occurring via the business technology platform. So some really important things for you there. And also the business technology platform is optimized for SAP. So when you think of S/4HANA, well, the business technology platform at its root has HANA. So that conversation layer between those applications is quite easy when it's facilitated by HANA. So the business technology platform is really four things. So four things, important things to know about the business technology platform. First and foremost, it's for app development, right? So if you need to build a mobile app that's for environmental health and safety, or for an app for your retail store that is taking data out of S4 and data out of let's say Salesforce, then you'd use the business technology platform. It's for integration. So if I need to integrate data from one system into another, I would use the business technology platform. We also have databases such as Cloud for HANA, analytics like SAP Analytics Cloud, data movement with data intelligence. That's another pillar. That's the third pillar, is data and analytics. And fourth, finally, is artificial intelligence, which is also part of the business technology platform. So those four key pillars are really important to the platform, and it really simplifies the workflow of most enterprises. Now let's talk a little bit about the hyperscalers. We are totally agnostic to your hyperscaler. So whether it's Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, or AWS, or Google Cloud Platform, use any one you want. The hyperscalers are really good at hosting applications. Where we come in, is extremely complementary to the hyperscaler, is the conversation between the applications. It makes no sense to pull the data out of a cloud-based SAP system and deposit it somewhere else and rebuild all the semantics, rebuild all the security, rebuild all the analytics and integration when you get that for free, or you get that so easily with the BTP platform. So those are some really important thoughts to think about when you look at the business technology platform. Other cool things. Now, here's a surprise. We made a big announcement last week. We had a major acquisition, and it kind of fell below the radar because it came right after our earnings announcement. I'm going to drive the camera guy crazy. Move a little forward, move a little back. So we had a big announcement right after our earnings last week. We announced we purchased a natural language machine learning company based out of Italy. It's called Ask Data. Now, these guys are going to radically improve our business technology platform. So imagine being able to use an analytics tool without actually having to learn the tool itself, where you just want to go in and ask a question of the database and it gives you a response. These guys are the market leaders in this. They're miles ahead of ThoughtSpot, miles ahead of narrative science. So it's going to be really cool. It's an API-driven approach, and we can actually take those APIs and embed them anywhere. So we could embed it into whatever, Microsoft Teams if we wanted to, for example. So some really exciting news there. So I wanted to just give you guys a highlight that this is something that you'll be seeing in the next 6 to 12 months on the business technology platform. So it is something that we're very interested in and improving always. So when we see a really tight fit, technically speaking, we go out and make those acquisitions. So Christian Klein's a little different than Bill. Christian's always looking for integration. He never buys revenue. He says, okay, can I integrate this product and be successful with it? Where Bill was kind of like, hey, let's do the big splash. But an exciting purchase, and you'll see a lot more in the 6 to 24 months with Ask Data, which is going to be great for customers. So what else can I tell you about the business technology platform? First of all, you can create a personalized experience so easy with the business technology platform. My greatest experience with that is a British manufacturer or business, British engineering and development company. They basically do construction projects. And they use the business technology platform to connect all their disparate systems and provide a single view into, are their projects on time? Are they cost effective? They even do Internet of Things and pull off sensor data so they can predict when they need to do maintenance on their equipment, right? And before they did this, they had some real issues. They couldn't see into this at all. And so now they've seen a 30% improvement in their projects by simply now they have insight that they didn't have before. So Costain is one who's doing that personalized experience. So they built it for their own KPIs, which is really cool. Actually, let me go back one slide, but build faster with business context. The next topic I want to sort of hit on, this is a really cool one. This is DHL. If you're not familiar with DHL, they compete with FedEx. So DHL is based out of Germany. And what their drivers used to have to do, these guys that deliver packages, what they'd have to do on a daily basis, they got into the van or the delivery truck, they had to record the mileage, the tire pressure, a whole bunch of stats that went on the van. And they, of course, wrote it down on a piece of paper. And then they would hang on to that piece of paper the whole day. And at the end of the day, they would pass it over to their manager, who would then manually enter that into a computer. Those are the type of workflows where you lose employees, folks, right? So in this time of the great retirement, think about that, right? We need to fix that stuff. Terribly inefficient. Guess how long it took them to do it in a low code, no code environment? Any guesses? If you guess correctly, Thomas is going to buy you a drink. Anyone? 7 days. You saw the video. Did you see the video? It was 7 days. Yes. And it was done by their business. Isn't that cool? Like from start to finish, it was 7 days. They were live with it, right? And that's just one way, one piece of inefficiency that you can eliminate. Now, the last one is really cool, Royal Greenland. So Royal Greenland, they did something really neat. So I'm from Canada. Royal Greenland is based out of, anyone guess where they're based out of? Greenland? Yeah, Greenland. Yeah. I think you had a president who tried to buy Greenland, didn't work out very well. But Greenland, they did something really cool. So North Atlantic, you imagine fishing for fish. What else would you fish for, right? Cold as hell, right? You're up there, you're fishing. The paperwork these guys had to fill out was crazy. 26,000 pages they figure that these guys were filling out in a year. They took the business technology platform and radically changed everything they did. So DHL looked at an incremental thing that they could fix. Royal Greenland went huge. So they had to have to record where they caught the fish, the size of the fish, the weight, the texture, all that kind of stuff. And that was being done on paper. Then they would transfer it to the guys in port, and they would have to kind of re-record this into a computer. Crazy thing to do in a modern age. And they took our app dev suite, built something in just a matter of months and deployed it. So they built a total of 3 applications that eliminated all this paperwork for their fishermen, which is just an insane amount of paperwork. So you can start to nibble at these inefficiencies really effectively with the business technology platform. And the business technology platform isn't just for SAP. We can connect to other systems. So we can connect to the Salesforces of this world and other vendors like that quite easily. And that's kind of the exciting thing about it. And those are 3 great customer examples. So my challenge for you guys is start to think about what you can do to kind of solve these issues. The one for me that always rang true when I was at JP Morgan, we had a currency devaluation report. So if you grew up in banking in the 2000s, the one thing you would remember is currency devaluations happened overnight and they happened really quick. So Argentina, its currency could lose 90% of its value overnight. Imagine if you're a bank and you had some loans in that country. Those loans aren't going to get paid. Or you're a bank and you own assets in that country, right? And so there would always be this struggle to respond to this major event. So you'd have to go through and check all your exposures to this one type of currency. And it took the bank 2 weeks to respond to that. I know that because I lived it. That would be, to me, that would have been the perfect use case for something like the business technology platform. We were going off and checking all these disparate systems where surely it would have made sense to have an application that just did that. So that's my challenge to you guys, is find your use case where that you can make a transformational impact to your business. Now you could go with the DHL approach, super easy, super targeted, or you could go with the Royal Greenland approach where you're saving those poor fishermen from getting frozen fingers. It's up to you. Okay. So in terms of getting started, how would you get started with business technology platform? Hey, I support sales guys. The sales guys loving this. Like, how do you buy it? I'm telling you now, the sales guy over there is like, yeah, he's covering it. So 3 ways. We have a pay-as-you-go system. So you can go and say, hey, I'm going to consume some software, and you make payments, almost like a car payment. We have what's called a Cloud Platform Enterprise Agreement. I had to check the actual meaning of the acronym. And this is basically consumption credits, where you can go along and say, I'm going to spend here, I'm going to spend here. That's like going to an arcade and getting 200 coins and picking the machines that you want to play in. And then finally, we have the subscription to the actual service that you want to use. And there's over 100 services on the business technology platform that you could subscribe to or leverage, either as a pay-as-you-go or your CPA approach. Okay, so that is the Penske 500 version of the business technology platform for those NASCAR 500 fans. Do we do questions at the end, folks? Or Greg, you're looking at me like I can do questions? No. Greg shrugged his shoulders. Anyone have any questions? And the next presenter is... Oh, I am? Oh, that's good to know. Oh.
Thank you so much, Steve. That was very insightful. A lot of information on platform, analytics. Thank you so much for sharing.
My pleasure.
Yeah, a big round of applause for Steve. Next, we have a executive panel discussion. And I'm going to first introduce, and 2 of our presenters, our panelists are virtual. So, gentlemen, we'll need to turn on a couple of mics on the virtual? No, for virtual. Yeah. So let me introduce Carl Bamford. He's the Vice President, Enterprise Application at EssilorLuxottica. As a veteran retail and fashion IT leader, Carl has more than 20 years of experience leading as EssilorLuxottica for their global SAP S/4 fashion transformation journey, and has been closely witnessing emerging global retail trends. Carl is a very versatile and transformative leader. Our next panelist is Bob Walker. He's Senior Director of Supply Chain and Finance Solutions at Tapestry. Bob has over 35 years of experience in information technology and has been responsible for solutions that range from product development and merchandise planning all the way through fulfillment and financial reporting. Over the years, Bob has gained experience in multiple technology platforms, as well as diverse business process areas, and is currently leading and responsible for SAP S/4 fashion journey at Tapestry. And the next panelist, I don't need to introduce further, it's Steve Bickerton. So I'm going to ask the first set of questions I'm going to start with Carl, and then repeat the same question for Bob as well as Steve to get different perspective. So Carl, what are the business trends you are seeing impacting your technology roadmap decisions?
Yeah, so for us, really omnichannel and cross-brand selling has become a major component of how we're growing the business as COVID happened and we saw a reduction of people going to stores. That really was the first thing that really became apparent was important for us to be able to be successful. We've spent a lot of time over the last 2.5 years really driving that, making that much more integral in our activities. We've also done and seen some acquisitions in our industry. We've done some both on the retail and on the wholesale manufacturing side, which has made our business continue to grow. It's led to a lot of work for us on an integration perspective and trying to make consistent processes and activities between us and the companies we've acquired. And, you know, operationally from an IT perspective, we're really still struggling with what's the right way to be effective with the work from home. We've seen tremendous importance of that for our associates, but really trying to find a way to be successful in all the things we need to do without maybe some of those face-to-face conversations, which really make things much more effective.
Thank you, Carl. I'll pass the same question to Bob. So Bob,
Sure.
what are you seeing from a business trend?
Well, first, I probably got to agree with Carl with the omni channels, but more specifically in our case for Tapestry, certainly one of the drivers for us has been our online e-commerce sales over the past 2 years, and that continues to be a driver for us. Many of the projects that we've undertaken or currently undertaking are all driven by that increase and expansion of our e-commerce channel, not only North America, but also Europe and Asia. We're seeing the same kind of growth. So certainly one of our big drivers there. And the other piece I would have to add on here is increased use of data analytics by the business. It's not just a technology piece. They're becoming more technology savvy. The demands that they actually have for using that data, for unlocking the value of that data through data analytics. They've used it in extremely targeted marketing, refining our assortments. And I think even one of our latest quarterly releases, just to give an example of how they've actually done some data mining and further expanding the markets. I think we've basically said that we've added over 1.4 million customers through some of that analysis and unlocking that data. And I think the last one for me is probably just greater use of automation. Again, not a new topic, but basically our business areas are demanding the use of of these things through automation, AI, and machine learning, so that they can spend more time on value add for the business itself.
Relate to the sales of e-com being in our industry, we sell through some 45, 50 large retailers. And we have seen a significant increase in the e-com sales as well, though we sell it through our partners essentially. Steve, I would like to ask the same question. You being in the industry from a solutions provider, what are you seeing with your clients? What are your observations? If you can share some insight.
Yeah. Hello? Oh, I would agree with Robert on the analytics piece for sure. So data democratization is here to stay. It's a different type of analyst that we got to get used to from an IT perspective. So these people want to do stuff themselves, and they are tech savvy, and we have to figure out a way of sharing the sandbox with them so that they can use that data. So one thing I would suggest you do if you have that pressure from your business is look at stuff like data and analytics catalogs, where you can kind of organize stuff so that they can easily come in and consume that information so that reports or data sets aren't unnecessarily being replicated. And there's lots of different vendors. Of course, SAP does that great, but I think it's a really important thing for your business. The other thing I see as well is, and Robert touched on this, is this whole idea of augmented analytics. So getting away from these massive report builds to basically do data discovery, where you now have tools that have predictive capabilities embedded into them. So if you want to figure out what moves sales in Q2, it's not a 4-day discovery. It's a right click and finding out what's correlated with that value. So that's where I see the market going. And it's going to be really interesting to see where we are in a few years, because if these trends continue, you can kind of see that our efficiency as enterprises is going to improve substantially.
Hello. The next question is, again, I'll go to Carl. What are the technology trends which are impacting business decisions?
Yeah, for us, we're really focused on how we can manage the customer when they do come in, and some new technologies we're providing to customers. So we've had for many years a virtual try-on tool available. We've really spent some time and energy managing that and improving that experience for the customer. We've also recently partnered with Facebook, or now Meta, I guess, to do some new product with our Ray-Ban Stories product line, and finding ways to integrate the eyewear into your experience on their platforms and activities you can do. We've also, because of some of the omni-channel and other activities, have really spent some time on our ERP landscape, looking at how we manage promotions, and we've recently implemented the SAP solution for promotion management for retail. And we're seeing a lot of benefit of moving a lot of our infrastructure off to the cloud, to find synergies and cost savings there to make our world a little bit more effective in what we do want to spend our money on.
Okay. Bob, same question to you. What are the technology trends which are impacting business decisions in your industry, in your company?
Yeah, definitely. When I looked at this one, I think the first one that comes to my mind is the expansion of cloud services and cloud offerings. Again, I wouldn't say it's a new topic, not a new technology, but I would say it's maturing to the point where adoption is higher, the industry knowledge is higher, and really what that's doing is it's actually enabling business to actually make different decisions that we wouldn't have made before. The added flexibility is a huge piece of that. And like I said, examples of projects that a business may have thought about before, where we may not have undertaken it because it was either too time consuming, too big, or whatever. Now with all the cloud services, cloud offerings, and things are cloud enabled, it's actually giving them the flexibility to say, yes, let's go ahead and do that. And it's also spawning new ideas for them.
Okay. And Steve, what's from your point?
Yeah.
Your lens?
I would agree with both speakers. The economics of software as a service is so compelling when you compare it to on-premise solutions or infrastructure as a service. So imagine you want to start a data project on-premise, and you, in 5 years, you're going to have a 5 terabyte system. So you would acquire a 5 terabyte license, a 5 terabyte piece of hardware, which you'd order. It'd take a while to arrive. You'd have to find some room in the server room, and that would be a project plan all by itself. If you wanted to do on the cloud, you can start tomorrow, and you can start at a fraction of the size of that and slowly move into that bigger t-shirt size. So software as a service is elastic, and it's just the economics of it is so powerful when you compare it to what we're doing with the older applications. So, and I'm not sure it was Carl or Bob, but I agree with them. The cloud is now mature, and we can make those moves. And I would encourage folks to do that. And beyond sort of just the infrastructure as a service, right, where I'm going to take something, application X, and move it to a hyperscaler. When you go software as a service, it's such a more flexible environment for you, and much more innovation as well, because one operating system is deployed for quarterly releases. The development is much more focused than it is on-premise. So a lot of encouraging things there for us.
A lot of value add there.
Yeah,
absolutely. Carl, next question to you is, what are the emerging technology trends in your industry specifically these days?
For us, we're a very niche retailer. So, I mean, the technology trends in our industry are really not much different than what you would see, I think, in a retailer. It's really around that customer experience when they get to the store, or how we are able to achieve a strong experience if they're managing activities online, and then finding ways to be more efficient with how we are able to serve that customer and provide them options, whether it's through our omni-channel and ship to home, or allowing them to come into the store and pick it up and do a final check to make sure it fits as they expected. So really, it's for us, it's about how we manage that experience for the customer, and really a lot of it's focused around omni-channel at the moment.
Okay, thank you. And Bob, how are you seeing it from your industry perspective? And I know very specialized in terms of the product line as well. So,
yeah, but definitely agree with everything that Carl just said. Different companies, yes, but very similar. I have omni-channel as my big call out for this one and omni-channel might be, you could look at that as business, but it's also the technology behind it. Which one is driving which? I kind of look at it as a convergence of business need, business demand, as well as the supporting technology that goes behind that. The demand for it is even stronger now than it was before. It's buy anywhere, buy anything, anytime, and on any device. And, that is driving, not only business decisions, but also technology and forcing us to come up with solutions on how to enable that, including, I know Carl mentioned before, cross-channel selling. Yes, same topic. It's actually, pushing us to actually come up with solutions for those business needs.
Yep. And Steve, from your point of view?
So what I see from an SAP perspective is I see SAP coming out with more and more software as a service applications that leapfrog functionality that you had on-prem. So whether it's the movement of data and what you now can do with something like data intelligence as a data fabric tool, or if it's an old BW system and you're looking to try to figure out what to do with it. And then you can see something like Data Warehouse Cloud and how it takes those basics and preserves those basics, but moves the functionality way beyond what you have right now in the user experience. So those are the big trends that we're seeing from SAP, and it seems to have resonated well with customers. I imagine we're not the only vendor doing that. So an encouraging time for folks consuming software, in my opinion.
The next question for Carl, considering pre-corona, all the different technology trends, which are no longer the buzzwords or buzz, it doesn't create any. What are the driving factors in your decision making? So essentially, pre-corona and now, how are you seeing the technology trends?
From our perspective, I keep coming back to it, and it's omni-channel. It's analytics, as people have mentioned. It's really about how we're managing in-store activities in a global environment. It's how we're able to get product to where we need to get it quicker. It's how we get product that's in a warehouse in Australia to a customer that's in the US if they want that product. It's really finding ways to manage that, keeping our activities to a minimum from a business user requirement, making as much of that as possible automated and seamless to the customer, but also our store associates. Finding ways to better leverage activities across the globe and supporting each other effectively.
From your point of view, any insight you can share?
Yeah, this question kind of had me stumped when I first heard this one. What technology does IT ever really truly walk away from? It kind of evolves, it matures, it changes, whatever. But But I did come up with an example, and it may not be what anybody was expecting. But the first one that came to my mind was as soon as the pandemic hit and we actually sent everybody home to go work remote, and it does fall under IT, is our networking printers and copy machines in the office. We definitely do not talk about those anymore. As a matter of fact, we pretty much accomplished a paperless office environment overnight when we sent everybody to work remote.
Yeah, very true. Steve?
Yeah, I would agree with both speakers. What's interesting when COVID-19 hit is we were effectively all sent home, and most enterprises were able to go on functioning. So it's changed my world radically. I went from doing about 120 flight segments a year, and I'm on my 6th flight this year so far. So radical change. The other thing I noticed too, it's far more efficient working from home. When you travel and you're going through security, you can't answer your phone on a plane, obviously, for some very obvious reasons. I'm able to touch far more customers, and it'd be interesting to see if that stays. I suspect it will, just from a cost benefit analysis. But that's been a radical change for me in this, COVID and post-COVID world.
Last question of the day for the panel is, what economic challenges are you seeing, and how might they impact your IT plans? Carl, if you would like to go first.
I can go first again. Okay. I think as we look at it, whether it's COVID, the situation going on in the Ukraine, us as a global company, we're constantly monitoring and trying to understand how to manage the business from a retail perspective. Obviously, we have a wholesale component, and we're dealing with independent doctors and smaller retailers as well, but trying to understand how and where to put product in order to be able to sell it as quickly as we can, understanding that markets are kind of coming in and going out of various situations, whether it's, again, the COVID situation or some other political situation. So for us, it's really about how we're managing the inventory and where it's located and how we get it transported to the proper location for it to be distributed to the right customer at the right time. We talked omni-channel. We have another solution we've implemented with Smart Shopper, which effectively helps us distribute the product in a good way. But really trying to manage how we keep ourselves from being put in a situation of having to close substantial amounts of stores without being able to generate some part of the revenue stream. It's important. So those things are there, and we're looking at expanding e-commerce platforms to countries where we maybe haven't had a strong presence before, to allow us to get that segment of the market covered when our stores are closed.
Bob?
Yeah, sure. And again, same things that the backdrop that Carl mentioned, with whether that be from COVID changes or what's going on in Ukraine, or whether it's a labor movement, whatever, at the ports. All of those things are leading up to very, very dynamic changes in the demand, and also our supply chain. Changes to our factory, where we're producing from, inbound logistics. The business needs to be able to react to these things and react quickly. And a lot of what we're actually doing is kind of in support of that, whether we're actually upsizing, right-sizing servers, or even to the point of actually providing new tools for the business side to be able to actually make those changes on the fly. When transportation shuts down into one country or the other country, we'll get calls from our production areas. Look, I got 100 purchase orders out here, all with open deliveries. I need to be able to change these like in mass, and it needs to be done like right now. Or the mode of transportation, maybe they're going from vessel to air. Again, just being able to provide those tools to the business areas so that they can react to those conditions, I think is actually one of the things that's impacting us.
Thank you. Steve?
I would definitely agree with Bob. We've seen two big supply chain shocks, first being COVID, the second, the war in Ukraine. And we've kind of gone from a just-in-time inventory world to where now we're kind of turning back the clock and seeing if there's other ways of doing it. And these are things that all of SAP's customers are facing and are struggling with, right? And the most important thing from a technology perspective as a technologist is making sure that we're supporting the business to help drive the best business outcome for our companies. And now is probably the most important time for a technologist to make his mark in the world. So when I talked about those 3 BTP examples, that's the kind of stuff we have to do. Remove that red tape that gets us closer to market, quicker to market, if we can.
Thank you, Steve. We'll open up for our audience on the virtual as well as inside here. Any questions for our panelists? Well, I would like to thank all the panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, insight. Thank you. Please, a round of applause for all the panelists. Our next presenter is Greg Hinkle. The topic here is IDMX, which is Intelligent Data Management Express. Greg is currently the Senior Vice President, Product and Delivery at McKinsey. Greg leads the product team, product strategy, development, and delivery of IDMX, where he is concerned with the product development and overall strategy of the product itself. Prior to his current role, Greg has spent a number of years in consulting, providing a lot of different services to different organizations, and has spent 6 years at Under Armour, where he has led enterprise architecture, analytics, master data management, project management, and business relationship management as well. Prior to Under Armour, Greg spent 15 years at Breakthrough Beverage in a variety of leadership positions. Please welcome Greg Hinkle.
Thank you, Raj, for that kind introduction. And I want to thank Steve Bickerton and the panelists for that awesome introduction to BTP and how BTP spurs innovation by bringing together app development, your analytics, your reporting, AI, ML, and integration. And I'm here to introduce Intelligent Data Management Express, which is a data management solution to manage data and data quality before your data gets into SAP. And before I get too deep into the Intelligent Master Data Express, I'd like to just introduce Mackensall here real quick for those who don't know us. Mackensall is a SAP Silver Partner established in 2008 with delivery centers in the US, in Canada, and in India. We have service offerings around SAP S/4HANA, enterprise information management, automation, and of course, our intelligent data management product. We also have support and staffing around application managed services, pay per use, and staff augmentation, as well as services for program management leadership and advisory services. And so we typically work in retail, CPG, wholesale, manufacturing, and life sciences areas with a variety of very esteemed customers such as Tapestry, Mars, Johnson & Johnson, Luxottica, Under Armour, and many others. So what I wanted to start with was sort of framing up the data problem here that I think most people have. Many of us have probably heard the term, data is oil or data is gold, but bad data is neither. For example, if a product goes into SAP without an MSRP, that PO gets issued, the items get shipped, and they land on the floor of the warehouse, and then somebody tries to scan them and put them away so that they can be sold, but no, it stops right there. And then the phone calls start and somebody has to fix some data and the phone calls go back, and finally somebody can scan it and put it away into a bin that's sellable. And so all of that time, people got stirred up, disrupted, product sitting in the warehouse and in an unsaleable bin and can't be sold because it's not in a saleable bin. So impacting potentially customer revenue, or you have a sales order come in without a UPC, and that sales order coming in through EDI without a UPC, that sales order gets on a hold. And so that hold has to be cleared before anything can be picked, packed, and shipped. So what happens here, guys, is when your data is not clean, SAP doesn't do the work for you. Your OTC, your PTP processes slow down, they stop. People have to go back, they have to fix things. Unraveling that work inside of SAP has always been hard. I initially, my first SAP implementation was in 2005. And what I learned very quickly was if you feed the monster, and that's what we called it, the monster, if you feed the monster good data, it does work for you, but it has to be good data. And so if we do that, and so there's obviously, based on those examples, there's a lot of ROI in investing in data quality. And so a couple examples here, Forbes says that 77% of the business leaders don't trust the data. Harvard Business Review says 47% of our data that goes into the system has some type of error. And oh, by the way, Gartner says that companies lose an average of $15 million because of bad data. Now, that's an average, right? I think some of you guys in the room are much bigger than that and probably losing much more. And then just to take this one step further, where does all this data end up? It all ends up in your reporting and analytics system. And I spent a large part of my career, even connected here with Steve from the old days of the first implementation of HANA. And so I've spent a lot of time in analytics over my career, running teams, building strategies and building roadmaps. And one of the things that I've found over and over again when I do that work is people don't trust the data. And when they don't trust the data, then what happens is they start to build those spreadsheet operations where people are downloading the data, fixing the data, and then building reports on it, and it's probably not correct. So that none of those things, none of this ends up with good compliant data, with data that works for you and your processes and your systems. So what are some of the drivers of bad data or data quality? Anybody here seen spreadsheets passed around the corporation? Been emails, the new workflow system I've heard. And those spreadsheets don't have any data management in them. There's no way to, you can put anything in the spreadsheet you want. There's no intelligence in the spreadsheet to help you fill in the data or edits to make sure that you put the right data in. So many of us are running large corporations on spreadsheets, guys. That happens over and over again. Or does anybody have vendors who send them bad data, slow down their systems, and that data needs to be quickly corrected so that sales orders can go into the system? And we're probably sending the vendors bad data to begin with when they send it back. So these are the things that cause bad data. So manual entry with Excel, obviously, poor data from our partners, missing workflows and approvals, data changes across the organization, right? That file might get passed around 3 or 4 times before somebody tries to load some data in SAP. The controls at the point of entry, right? So there's the best way to ensure data quality is to have controls at the point of data entry. Otherwise, you're chasing your data downstream. And human error, right? We're all humans. We make errors. There's no way around it. But we could potentially take some of the human out of the process. And we've got multiple stakeholders for objects, making that difficult. So our goal for Intelligent Master Data Express was to be able to achieve an integrated, SAP solution, using BTP, ensure consistency kind of the look and the feel with the Fiori that people are used to already, and connect that system back to SAP from a process perspective. Administered lean data governance and workflow, so certainly as much governance as you need, but not more than you need. Manage our quality at the point of entry with rules at the point of entry, and artificial intelligence to fill in data that maybe we don't even need to get the human to fill in. Leveraging, the RPA and the artificial intelligence and your machine learning. A single source of the truth for all your data that's going into your system, right? So if it all comes in through one funnel, then we know how it came, where it came, and who did what to it before it entered the system. And bring a dashboard visibility to the process. So this one's always important. It touches my heart a little bit because I took over master data at one point. And one of the first questions an executive asked me was, Greg, how come it takes 10 days to get a new product into SAP? And I couldn't give a real answer because, 5 different groups had to touch it, and I couldn't tell where the backlogs were or who was, whose queue was spending so much time in. So having that type of information really helps you, streamline your process, or even potentially, have some conversations with your external partners. And be obvious, I think, table stakes today, the mobile workforce. It's certainly required. With COVID, more and more people are at home. There's a little more flexibility is coming into work life. And so when we, need to run out to the grocery store, or we need to run out somewhere, if I have my mobile device and I need to approve something, that can be done. It doesn't have to wait for someone to get back. So what is IMDX? It's a platform on the on BTP that lets you manage data quality up front before it goes into SAP to supercharge and make more efficient your downstream processes. And so the features we have here are, RESTful APIs, standard connectors into SAP to make the process of implementation much faster. Multi-tenant cloud architecture, so centrally managed, secure and scalable. And data harmonization, and this is an important one. So if we need to update, multiple backend systems to keep the data in sync, we can do that even in the same transaction if we need to. Obviously, single processing, of course, but mass processing to be able to change records quickly and efficiently and get those into SAP. Workflow and approval and dashboarding, I think I've covered. AI/ML for exception handling. So, for example, and this AI stuff is a bit in the works, but be able to auto approve, new sales orders coming in based on what has been approved in the past. So building up that knowledge and be able to do that to have people work on the things that they need to work on, right? Boiling that work down to exception work. And then robotic process automation. So example here would be, I think in most organizations, people get wholesale orders on spreadsheets still, unfortunately, but be able to pick those spreadsheets up, read those spreadsheets, and put the data into the system so that without it having to be picked up, read, and rekeyed. Data import and export with Excel, of course. I think that's a bit of table stakes. Every system has to do that these days. And the data rules and edits, which I think are hugely important here for people to be productive, right? So, when you're creating a material for for a certain material type, and maybe it's a pre-packed, so the unit of measure always has to be a case. We don't have to rely on humans to fill that in. We can fill that data in by rule, and so no mistakes will get made. And then, for example, your edits. So when I get that edit list from SAP, right, whether it's material type or whatever, there's always like 100 things in those lists, and there's 3 or 4 that are valid for what I'm actually working on here. So just be able to guide people to only put in values that could possibly be valid. And then the mobile app support. So where did this all come from? So these things came from, our interactions with our clients. We had a client who, wanted to manage, supplier onboarding, to be able to, manage the process, manage the documents, manage the communication, and then once that process is over, get that vendor created in SAP, or, pre-validation of sales orders to make sure that, whether that sales order is coming from a spreadsheet or whether it's coming through EDI, any errors in that order can get fixed and handled, approved, and then updated into SAP. And then lastly, around material management, got a client who, wanted to manage the materials, but wanted to also manage the BOMs and the routes at the same time, very cohesively. That was how it came out of their design system, their manufacturing design system, and they wanted to be able to manage that as one process, as one object. So IMDX, we actually think of as 3 domains, or our platform IMDX, we think of it as 3 domains with applications under each one of the domains. Pre-boarding, which is about pre-boarding suppliers and pre-boarding customers before they get onto SAP. And then our master data, obviously, with the additional things like BOMs and routes and some other things that are a little bit of an extension to MDG. And then our pre-processing, which is more transactional in approach around updating, sales orders or purchase orders into SAP. Now, these things are all, can be tailored to industry or even tailored to clients, and they can be implemented, on top of SAP applications. So, supplier portal can be on top of your Ariba supplier management to do the interface and the mobile, and your MDG could be implemented the same way, or they could be obviously implemented standalone. So the roadmap for IMDX, we are currently in process of getting the platform and the applications in the SAP App Store. So we've been working on that for a few weeks, working through that. I imagine that'll be completed in the next couple of weeks. Our roadmap here, and as I mentioned, we had these applications before. They just weren't built on SAP tools. They were built on open source tools and other tools. And so we're making that conversion of these applications. And so we finished in May converting all the UXs. We finished converting the apps to the BTP platform. We are working on our Fiori migration of our apps, and then we will be adding AI ML capabilities on top of that. So I wanted to do a quick demo, and I'll apologize. This demo is probably a little long for the audience here. So I'm going to play just maybe a minute of it and let people kind of get a little flavor of the application, and then we'll move on. Where's the music at? Let's add music with it. didn't want to play the whole thing, but that was an example of a sales order request coming in, them adding the new data, fixing the data, and then getting ready to send that data back into SAP after it being cleaned and of quality. So before I end here, if anyone in the audience or with us virtually has any questions about Intelligent Master Data Express, would like a demo, or would like to know more about the functionality and the capabilities, or talk about maybe some pain points that they have, please see someone on the Mac Consult team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg. Our next topic is de-risk and accelerate the journey to the intelligent enterprise. And our speaker is Brett Purcell, who represents Tricentis Portfolio Overview. So a little bit of introduction about Brett. Brett is the SAP Business Development Director. Brett leads the SAP practice at Tricentis, educating companies on the importance of the quality first mindset in digital transformations. Before taking on his current role, Brett has 25 years of experience in the quality assurance, engineering space, and leading QA teams for some of the most recognizable companies in the world, being known for their optimizing at speed, reducing risk, and reducing cost. That's it, Brett. Please welcome Brett Purcell.
Thank you, Raj. So what I wanted to do was start a little bit differently and start with a video, right? So I think in racing, we can all agree that speed is pretty important, right? Well, in business, it's important as well, right? Companies want to innovate faster, right? And if you don't, well, the bottom line is you're going to be left behind. You're going to get lapped. And so at the end of the day, right, speed is super important in racing, but it's also very important in business, right? And we can agree that speed really does change everything. But the faster you go, the riskier it is, right? So these guys, they probably did a little bit of planning before they jumped out of a plane at 20,000 feet or whatever, right? And so they did some pre-check planning, pre-flight planning, where, you know, they wanted to ensure a positive outcome at the end, right? It's kind of like what we do in business, right? And so for these guys, you know, they want to make sure that that positive outcome is a safe landing. And so I ask everyone, would you do this? I know I wouldn't. I still, my hands get sweaty every time I watch this video. But if I did, right, what conditions would I need to do that? So for me, have to be a nice day. I'm sure my wife would want my life insurance policy paid up. And what I would need to consider myself ready, I'd want the best technology, right? I want the best parachute, the best eyewear, the best altimeter. I want to make sure that, you know, there's nothing I would want when I jump out of a plane. And I think it's a good metaphor for IT transformations and IT innovations, because, you know, we're not going to go through a transformation without doing some level of planning, but we also want to get there fast, right? So it's always that balance of speed versus risk. And so in the retail world, spare some animations here, you know, these are some of the main drivers in the industry, right? You've got sustainability, everything's centered really around that enhanced customer experience. You've got omni-channel, transformational productivity, delivery excellence. And when it comes to Tricentis, we help de-risk and accelerate those innovations and those digital transformations, right? And companies today, right, they're focused on 3 areas, and that's what you see here in the blue. And so when it comes to new business models, right, they want to get to market faster. They want to, you know, accelerate that time to market, and we do that through intelligent automation, right? They want to modernize without risk. And they do that by removing some blind spots, right? So areas you're not aware that have changed, right? So it becomes a risk avoidance type of effort. And then lastly is operational excellence. And so they want to be better than they were yesterday, right? So finding ways to improve a business process might be business process intelligence. It might be a BTP innovation. It might be RPA or workflow, right? But that's all really centered around change. And when you change, you have to test. So a quality first mindset is super important when you're going through this type of transformation. And so when you're doing quality first mindset, it's also centered around continuous automation. So this is all great, but QA. It's the number one thing that will slow you down. And what you see here on the right are the top 5 things that we see in the industry that are impeding innovation, right? So when you think about not knowing what's been impacted, right, that could be a security change. What would that impact be on your business? You look at how fast applications are changing today, right? Now you have technologies like BTP platform, right? No code, low code, right? That all is perpetuating a faster response to the market change, right? You've got the availability of test data and environments. Think of test data as your fuel for driving tests, whether they're manual or automated. And then we got data, right? Decisioning, right? The decisions that companies make are made on the data that sits in their data lakes or their data warehouse, right? And that has to be correct. And then slows the new downtime. So applications don't have to crash to be considered down. They just have to be slow. And so last summer, I was at Wrigley Field. I want to give a good example. I was at Wrigley Field with my wife. It's in the summer. It's hot. Ordered a couple beers, a couple hot dogs from their little mobile app. Put in my credit card, hit go. Nothing. Never got my beer. Never got my hot dogs. I was pretty upset. It was hot. So had to go up to the concession stand. I get relegated to the kiosk, which is essentially the same application on a bigger screen. Same result. So I had to then move to the line that was wrapped around all around a Wrigley Field with one person trying to get food and something to drink. So with that, you know, there was clearly a missed opportunity for the folks in Chicago to capitalize on people wanting to spend money on a hot day. So we flip those impediments on their head and accelerate. And you have to ask yourself some questions, right? And the first one is, where's the risk? So if you don't know where changes are, then you're significantly at risk. And what change impact analysis does as part of our portfolio for BTP innovations and SAP transformations is highlights and provides visibility into those changes, right? Into those changed areas. You now know what type of test coverage you have, and more importantly, what you don't have. And that's what CIOs press pause on these big transformations, is that fear of the unknown. And we make that known for them. Next question is, does it work? So with the high frequency of applications, well, you need a fast engine to keep up with all of that, right? So enterprise continuous testing is a combination of an automation platform, API or service virtualization platform, as well as the ability to run tests in parallel in a headless manner, right? And so with that, enterprise continuous testing, think of this as model-based, no code. I talk with my hands, sorry, I move the mic a lot. So model-based, it covers over 160 different technologies. Why is that important? Because your end-to-end business process, it's SAP and non-SAP. So think of it from anything from mainframe to mobile. Then we talk about the data, right? And so think of this data from a business process standpoint. And you know, the data that sits inside of our data warehouses and data lakes, it has to be accurate, right? One of our customers made a couple $1 million mistake by underreporting storage capacity in the cloud by having one of their reports off by 1/1000%, right? But the report was fine. It became a data lineage issue. So being able to spot where those data anomalies are as it relates to a business process is very, very important. And data integrity testing allows for that also in a codeless way, supporting 250 different data technologies, right? And does it in a way that someone who doesn't know SQL or a programming language in the same way that enterprise continuous testing is no code as well. We do this for data. You're going to see a theme. We talk about performance. It is also a no code. And so typically performance testing is left as a last mile effort, right? Something that's done at the end. And what enterprise performance testing does is it can create these performance testing tests in a codeless way, but that's not the real value. The real value is when it changes, right? So when an application changes existing tools today, well, you have to start over. That's why it's last mile. I do it once at the end. Now you're able to pull that performance testing forward so that all of, so that you're testing functionally, and you're also testing non-functionally from a performance standpoint at every change, right? Every wave, every sprint. So let's take a look at the retail business here. And inside of the retail business, we look at these 5 areas that are really driving value in an organization, right? So you've got product lifecycle management, omni-channel, revenue management. We're going to focus on omni-channel today, specifically around order management. And so when you look at this example process, the process is not so much, the order or whatever, but this is really a symphony of technologies. It's SAP and non-SAP, right? And so that connected end-to-end business process, that's what companies are after when they transform, not just one little silo. When you test in silos, that's where you get burned. Okay, so we're going to drill into this little box, right? And we're going to focus on one of the trends around delivery excellence. So in our little process here, we got inventory management. We're going to make a change to that, right? And so that change is going to be same day delivery, right? So maybe BTP is going to, create some integration to some other third parties. We might leverage some other technologies to account for whatever we want to optimize, right? And when we put our platform on top of that, our automation platform, we can manage the risk. We can see what we need to test, when we need to test it by using change impact analysis, right? We know how it's going to work by leveraging ECT or enterprise continuous testing, which is the automated testing platform, right? So as changes come in, we know exactly what to test, what automation we have, and more importantly, what we don't have. And then again, along the way, enterprise performance testing is testing the performance aspects of that change as well, every step we go. And then edit, that's looking at that entire business process across your enterprise and any data source, structured or unstructured, to ensure that all that data is correct and fit for use when you want to use it. And so all this really boils up to is got the attention of Forrester. And Forrester did an independent study and found that using the Tricentis solutions, you can go about 3 times faster, right? You'll get an ROI of about 334%. And more importantly, you can get your money back in 6 months. You're going to reduce the overall test scope, which helps in accelerating the time, right, that it takes to test. And then when we talked about that performance testing, moving it forward, right, we virtually eliminated all of the performance testing costs. And that's yielding a $7.8 million value or benefits, right? Before costs and services. I think the net present value was $6 million over 3 years. And feel free to scan the QR code that works as well. And so, lastly, I'll close here with just a quick customer story for HP. I won't click into it here. But for HP, they were undergoing a SAP transformation, and as part of that transformation, it was about a 3-year process. And the first year they went through and they had 20% adoption. Automation was a failure, right? So about a little over a year ago, bought Tricentis, incorporated change impact analysis. So now they were focused on what they had to automate, right? Versus just automating arbitrarily. They had 1,000 test cases that didn't cover the business risk. So the business was changing and they were failing. That's why they had 20% adoption rate. One of the key things that were pulled out, and Let's talked about this. He's one of their SVPs, about how they were able to take that in years 2 and 3 and accelerate not how fast they could deliver, but they were able to save over 200,000 hours just in testing on the SAP project alone. But remember, right, your business processes are more than SAP as one silo, right? He was able to create a on-demand test platform so that anyone in the company could use it. So with that, Greg, I'll pause and hopefully catch us up on time here. But if there's any other questions, happy to take them. So.
Thank you, Brad. All right. The next, what we have is a panel discussion. And the topic is why BTP is a game changer. And I'm going to introduce the first person on the panel. A man who doesn't need much introduction. Everyone knows him. His name is Anurag Varshney. And Anurag is the chief architect and managing partner at McKinsey Consulting. Anurag is an accomplished IT and SAP executive and expert in SAP S/4HANA, retail and fashion, with proven experience in consumer industries, with 26 plus years of achievement in leveraging technology to help companies drive growth and operational efficiencies as well as scalability. He's a change agent capable of orchestrating transformative and overarching business strategy through SAP-centric programs. Please welcome Anurag. Our next panelist is Jagan Uppala, Director and Principal Architect for SAP Solutions and BTP at Tapestry. Jagan has over 25 years of experience in information technology, working as solution architect, technology enabler, primarily focusing on SAP products. He specializes in technology innovation and optimization. At Tapestry, he leads, here's a different way to present. The Tapestry team led by him were finalists at SAP Innovation Awards 2022 for their work on SAP Conversational AI on BTP platform. Please welcome Jagan. And our next panelist is Vikas Lodha. And Vikas is the Chief Solutions Advisor, Customer Office, BTP Core. Vikas is a global technology leader, leading teams to design, develop, and deliver customer-centric products. Presently working with the BTP portfolio to drive digital transformation and innovations. Earlier, he led transformation of services business to digital business with a focus on building and expanding data management portfolios. Please welcome Vikas. Vikas is virtual.
Yeah, he's virtual.
Okay.
I'm just checking to see if he's online. Because
Yep, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
As we talked about, what is the, how is BTP a game changer? So I'm going to start with Jagan, since you are sitting right next to me. Why is SAP BTP a game changer?
First of all, thanks for having me here. Have a good evening to you all. It's a very interesting question, BTP, especially after hearing through Steve's keynote address and also Bob and Carl's perspective during that executive panel, how the technology evolution is addressing various business problems and other things. Let me give you a technology solution architect perspective of why we consider BTP as a game changer. Traditionally, being a long-time SAP customer or the user, we are a big-time on-premise packaged software. For us to implement a solution or ideate and bring it to a life to a solution product, it's a considerable undertaking. That's where the BTP comes into picture from a game-changing standpoint. Is you can quickly ideate, prototype it, scale up, fly high, or fail fast. You don't have to do a lot of planning, or you don't have to do a lot of thought process in bringing up that. BTP gives those opportunities for, especially for IT team, to consider the business problems, to ideate and bring it to some type of a life to that. To that extent, from on-premise to the BTP is definitely a game changer from a technology enablement standpoint.
Thank you, Jagan. I'll ask the same question to Vikas. Because if you can share your thoughts on why is SAP BTP a game changer?
Because just to see if you are on mute.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So from an SAP's point of view, it is the core to the foundation of that intelligent enterprise. And when we talk about intelligent enterprise, it's the intelligent suite, the S/4HANA, the supply chain solutions, all of the spends management, all of these solutions, which we call as an intelligent enterprise, it's powering that. And the goal, when we say it's powering it, the goal has been to introduce the focus and the agility. And when we say from an agility point of view, and from a customer's point of view, and from SAP's point of view, it's the speed of innovation. How can you be agile and quickly deliver the solution on the platform where these components are not technical components, but are business-centric components? And imagine from a customer point of view, the cost of the setup, the cost of the maintenance, the cost of the updates, enhancing your solution on an ongoing basis. You're not building a solution which will, or some solution for a business which will last forever. Your business is ever changing, and you have to continuously enhance those solutions. How can you quickly, with the agility, introduce those solutions and expand that? How can you automate and drive that productivity to your end consumer or your end business? That's where BTP is a game changer, which provides you that components to bring in that agility.
Thank you, Vikas. Anurag, you work across various different customers. How are you seeing this from a game changer, BTP as a game changer?
So first of all, I would say I'm probably here preaching to the choir because we have some experts from BTP. They are definitely in-depth experts, right? For me, if I have to present, first of all, I'm an architect by heart and I had been doing obviously a lot of solutioning across industries. I would call it more as a business architect plus technology, so it's more hybrid. From my perspective, I would say I'll definitely be agreeing what both of these gentlemen said, right? The agility component, modularity, go fast, fail fast rather than waiting. And then if I put my words across this and wrap around and say that as a business architect, when we say game changer, what game we are trying to refer to? You know, the first is this. And the game in today's world is companies are looking at disruptive technologies coming very fast. Innovations are coming too fast, and which is disrupting the business models across, right? And companies are looking for distinctive competitive advantages, how they can really stand up very fast, how they can enable their business fast, right? How they can change the model, business practice, processes and practices, and then adapt to the market very fast. This is the game changer, in my opinion. I'm sure everybody has a different perspective. And while they're doing that, I think last few years, we are seeing the technologies are bringing newer business models. Even the new businesses are coming up based on the technologies, right? There are numerous examples. We talk about Airbnb, we talk about Tesla, we talk about DoorDash or whatnot, right? There are several. So point I'm trying to drive home here is companies need a platform wherein they can start fast, being more agile, stay outside the silos they usually operate on, and then they need something to go fast, right? They can't wait for years. A long standing, those 2 years type of projects, if those are happening, nobody has that time. So to Jagan's point, right? If there are needs, if you have to enable the business fast, we look at the gaps, how we can model this. What Vikas said, agility these days, businesses. I'm totally agreeing with that. And then I look at any product or any services, how it will benefit business at the end of the day. If this is able to benefit business fast, and then this creates the new plethora of like platform wherein people can come, innovate quickly, and then really diversify. This is the first time, in my opinion, as an independent architect for the moment, if I take aside, is the first time this platform has come in wherein companies who are already on SAP, they can really look at the innovation too fast with the fastest speed possible. Next, they can really create something and then work with the existing technologies. So to me, this is definitely a game changer. So sorry, long answer, but
thank you. Insightful.
I just want to add, because that question itself has some type of a directionally is going to be in the understanding of the BTP platform, right? Earlier in the program, we had a panel discussion on the executive panel discussion. There was a question about what are the business trends changing and what are the technology trends are influencing, addressing those problems. Traditionally, in order to address the current ever-changing market conditions, whether it is through the macroeconomic indicators or through the supply chain aspects of it, challenges, or through the pandemic that we are living through, right? In order to bring solution to address those problems or to bring innovation to address or make things a lot better, especially the people who are running their enterprise applications on the on-premise, BTP should give them that speed to address that. The enablement of the solutions is much faster, and a diversified of technology solutions can be offered through a BTP platform as opposed to an on-premise, which is a time-consuming and a lot more efforts to take to address that. To that extent, definitely we are taking the game to a next level, or is completely changing the rules of the game per se.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that insight. That kind of segues into the next question in terms of Jagan. How is SAP BTP helping you in innovation at your company? What is the use case and what is the value add that you have kind of seen happening?
Absolutely. It's a little bit, chicken or egg kind of a situation where is there a business problem that we need to address to consider the BTP, or the BTP capabilities are offering makes it address the business solutions, which comes first. So BTP brings both of them together to that extent. I mean, I may not be able to kind of explain all the things that are happening in a typical, like our organization or a typical organization, but definitely BTP is filling those gaps where the traditional on-premise ERP software is not able to scale up or to bring a net new capability, whether it is in terms of the AI/ML capability or in terms of the predictive analytics or all those things, which can be enabled much faster. To that extent, BTP is playing like some level of a promising role in our organization, or for that matter, any organization who started their journey in BTP.
Excellent. Vikas, would you like to share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, from an SAP's point of view, we built it, but we built it because we in SAP use it heavily. So I'll give you two specifics, right? One is all industry solutions now are getting built on BTP, period. all existing intelligent suite, be it S/4HANA, all the innovation is happening via BTP. Yeah. And we as an SAP employees, when we log on, the first thing onto our portal, that's our BTP. We log on to a small other applications which are not ERP related, we log on to BTP. You come in as a supplier, partners, third party, external agencies, work through the BTP. Nobody wants to expose their ECC or S/4HANA system back to the external agencies. So it's basically driving pretty much all the periphery or the surrounding aspects from a technology business point of view is BTP, right? So if you're implementing S/4HANA or we are having the S/4HANA, BTP is surrounded all over the place. And from our development point of view, we've introduced BTP as a consistent development environment as to bring in that consistency. One way of UI, one way of API, one way of scalability, one way of doing security, authorization, same workflow, one way of integration. It's making sure that we have that consistency and making it easier and seamless across all our developers, all our architects, everybody across the company. And that's the same thing which we are introducing the same thing to the customers to make it easier for consumption and easier. And that's how we are bringing in that quick agility also.
Great point, Vikas, on the security aspect of BTP as well. It's important in this day and age. So, thanks for covering that base as well. Anurag, your thoughts on this?
So our perspective is slightly different, obviously, because we are in the advisory part, right, for roadmap. And when we get into the advisory, we tend to obviously take the feedback and learnings from the market back and what the executives are really talking about, how do they think. And then I think the leadership style is very much dependent on, leadership style drives the decision. So I was fortunate, I was talking to one of the senior executive at one of the client, CTO, so to speak, and I was trying to hear what is his perspective between SAC on BTP, which is like analytics versus competing products. Like, so his line was like, Anurag, if I can make my data not crawling through multiple systems, and it can reside within one and then still be able to give that distinctive advantage and power, then I would be better off using the same, right? Now, SAP bringing that ecosystem wherein I don't have to have a heterogeneous landscape and multiple, so to speak, integration layers and all. So a lot of convergence has happened on BTP. That convergence is going to help scale up. If you are looking at the total TC or total cost of ownership, right? Everybody looks at the returns on investments. And then when executives are reaching out to the board or CEO and looking for this is the budget and then we need these are the benefits are going to really go to the business, I think everything factors in. So I think I may be preaching to the choir once again. I mean, these experts should definitely talk daily, but I learn from these experts as well as the business, as well as the market. And when I look at, we bake in that into our advisory to see what are the trends. And then we follow the technology trends, we follow the business trends, and then we have to find the happy path to see that business should win at the end of the day. And then I see that in the roadmap now, everybody is talking about all of our clients plus prospects. They all are exploring and looking for BTP and then asking the questions, how we can do the innovations, how we can bring this into, but use cases. That is the discussion, so to speak, that, hey, bring up use cases.
Thank you. Thank you. Next again, Jagan. What actions do you foresee happening or recommending for SAP BTP's adoption in an organization within your industry?
It's a very tricky question, especially when we have on the phone the product seller and when we have a solution architect as a service. Anything I speak will be recorded and will be
used against you.
So to that extent, how obviously what comes first? You have to recognize, identify the ongoing problem statements or business needs that you are looking for, overlap with what BTP can offer you. That should kind of drive us to a point and those kind of things that that leads us to the actions or the adoptions. The capabilities, the adoptions that we can talk about is the extensibility is one area where certain user experiences may not be that elevated in an on-premise solutions. Definitely BTP will bring that user experience elevation. That is one area we can foresee very good adaptability. The second thing is the not only from as a user standpoint, the fundamental features of the BTP in democratizing the technology development aspect are making the citizen developers, are empowering the end users to do. A big example is someone mentioned about the low code, no code. That itself will drive the adaptability to bring that adoption to different facets of the organization. Traditionally, we centric towards a browser, or we may have to look for a app development standpoint from a mobile or handheld. BTP capability will accelerate that much more easier, and that's where the application development makes it easier to bring more adoption, which is driven by the BTP technologies.
And do you see like change management initiative? How is that related to the BTP?
Definitely, if you're giving what you call a targeted solution, and which changes the way they were doing certain business process before.
Yeah.
One of the BTP capability, I'm just talking about, let's say, invoice processing. Prior to, let's say, keep the capability offered by the BTP, invoice processing will have to be performed in certain way. If you talk about document information extraction service offered by BTP, click and glow. So to that extent, bringing the change or the user experience or change management itself completely changed by offering a net new solution or out-of-box solution. Yeah. To large extent, that will have a greater impact on the change management aspect.
And tremendous cost, time saving, cost saving as well.
Yeah, you can. You don't have to, like Steve was mentioning earlier, right? You don't have to plan big.
Yeah.
You can plan small, scale up, even change the course during the development before reaching its endpoint. You can always. It's a perfect example for your DevOps model or CI/CD kind of a thing. BTP offers you all those capabilities.
Excellent, thank you. Vikas, any insight from your point of view?
Yeah, so I believe the question was related to for BTP adoption in the industries, right?
Yep.
And what we see is kind of from the industry point of view, and specifically in these industries, are how do I collaborate with a third party? How do I integrate these many disjointed systems? We've not seen company who has got only one ERP system or one system, that's it, right? So how do I collaborate? How do I integrate the disjointed system? How do I bring in the data to in one unified way, right? So this is where the BTP adoption is coming the most, right? Those disjointed application systems, we provide those predefined integrations, right? We provide that process automation to remove that human or mundane task via RPA or through the workflow processes. We've introduced the concept of the data federations and the data mesh from BTP point of view. This is where it's quite differentiating, where we are making sure that there is a significant adoption where the industry is streamlining these processes in a very holistic way.
Thank you. Anurag?
I mean, I would once again agreeing with a lot of inputs here given in terms of use cases. I mean, I see BTP as a platform which has almost everything you can think of in a technology, in my layman's language, right? If I'm running an enterprise, having some products and selling this, and then if I have to look at BTP, then I can look at this as a center stage, basically nucleus of all the technologies. I mean, you would agree, You talk about the data side, you talk about the analytics side, you talk about the, the integration side, you talk about the process automation, what Vikas also pointed out, right? App extensibility. And then if there are innovations, sometimes innovations leading and enabling business to do some things, or there are needs from the business, and then people want to do innovation quickly. So it's like no plan A, plan B. You can have a small, do it quick. You don't have to do a lot of long roadmap. You can have a few weeks, do the innovation quickly, small, minimal viable product. And then I think the companies are looking for use cases. And then I have a plethora of use cases people are talking about. I'm sure my friend Jagan, he had a use cases which not necessarily coming from the company's point of view, but if you may feel, sometimes we discuss those things. And if there are use cases in the industry, please feel free to share. I think more the merrier. And there are many use cases which are being discussed in there. So I think the adoption is picking up, albeit is a little bit slower than my expectations, but I'm in one architect on the whole gigantic world. I would look at that way. So
ecosystem. Yeah. For the next question, I'm going to start with you, Anurag. These are like, a couple of questions where what are the low-hanging fruits? What are the quick benefits of SAP BTP for companies to quickly benefit off?
So I will break this into two parts. One is companies who are already on SAP, right? Yeah. For them, it could be easy to no-brainer, get into the app extensibility, a lot of custom code, they can start shifting that. Keep the core clean, basically, because upgrades are happening constantly on SAP that cost a hell to the companies, not in terms of money, direct money, but in terms of time, efforts, and investment of resources. So from that point of view, if there could be a small seeding to be done, which can help start bringing the custom code toward that, and then keep not only core, but also you have Ariba, you have SuccessFactors, you have CRM, you have analytics or whatnot. I think giving the direction is very important, and a direction can be started from BTP. Now comes to net new clients who don't have a SAP, and then if there is a scope, then I think the starting point could be a no-brainer analytics in my view, is low-hanging fruit. Start from there independent, and then try and test and build upon, basically.
Yeah. Excellent. Hey, Vikas, thoughts on this from?
Yeah, I mean, from a quick point of view, the low-hanging fruits from a customer's point of view is look at all the predefined content. Go to the Discovery Center of BTP, go to api.sap.com. You'll find amazing predefined content for integrations, the events which has been published, the workflows which has been available, the RPA automation stuff which has been available. That's already a low-hanging fruit, and not to forget the data warehouse related, all the data which needs to be exported out, all that predefined content for within the data warehouse cloud. It's all there.
That's a very, very excellent point. Sorry to chime in. I think a lot of this pre-built content, I completely agree. Yeah. That could be a great starting point for companies. Yeah, thank you, Vikas.
Thank you, Vikas. Jagan, you being within the industry as a consumer, what are key takeaways on that?
First of all, the adoption of the BTP itself is a great starting point to that extent. When it comes to immediate benefits or low-hanging fruits, there are two parts I wanted to answer this way. If you have a immediate need of a business challenge or a business problem, BTP gives you that jumpstart capability to address that. So to that extent, you look the low-hanging fruits from a business opportunities, business challenging point of view. And BTP is there to solve those or address those things. When it comes to the technology, again, it comes like which one comes first? Your need comes first or your capability comes first? So to that extent, definitely traditional SAP customers, one of the quick things that they can get benefited is from the app extensibility. And also if they are traditionally a mobile centric or mobile first strategy, for them, low code, no code is a very good immediate beneficial entry point. like both of them said, both Vikas as well as Anurag said, analytics and data exchange through their out-of-box integration content. These two are always there from a large landscape standpoint.
Yeah, from what I'm hearing is like the turnaround time on getting the benefits is pretty fast. It depends, start small.
Yeah.
And keep growing, and that's
You don't
tremendous
have to buy
opportunity.
servers. You don't have to build up those, whatever the sizing and all those things. You can select a certain component that you want to enable. It's just a matter of like even the pricing model also, right? Pay as you go. You only look for those tokens for which you are addressing the problem and scale on the top of it.
Yeah.
So to that extent, see, it's not that we are kind of mention, but it's one of those scenario where we are living through that scenario where we are getting those outer bands of the benefits pretty quickly.
Okay. Jagan, I'm going to start with you again on next question. How do you see the future of SAP BTP? Like, where is it going as next level, next stage?
I think definitely the sequence of the question got a little bit, probably this may be more apt for Vikas from a product standpoint, or even Steve can chime in. Let's try to hear from Vikas. Like, where do you like?
Or maybe a different way to ask you, Jagan, is what would you like?
Okay. Oh, it's a band of opportunities, right? We can modularize what is already packaged in the on-premise solution and just make it a very niche, nimble, and a very selective rather than a very thick module. Make that business function very targeted and enable that on the BTP. That I'm talking from a customer standpoint. But from their innovation standpoint or how they want to bring other capabilities, probably Vikas may be the right person to answer.
All right. Nice segue. Vikas, over to you.
Yep. So, as I mentioned, like all our products, industry, cloud, all of those applications are getting powered by BTP. Now, with that said, I mean, we are in a PaaS and a SaaS environment. So the updates, the upgrades, the enhancements are not coming 6 months, 1 year later. They are coming every month. We are updating on a regular basis. We are enhancing them on a regular basis. You as a customer doesn't need to take care of that. We take care of it. We deliver that predefined content. The customer needs to think of from 2 points of view. Are you implementing S4HANA? Are you moving towards S4HANA? Or are you trying to solve a business problem? If you're trying to solve a business problem, there are going to be multiple technology components, let's call it those components, we call it services, will be required. You will be needing UI5 libraries, you'll be needing workflows, you'll be needing RPA, you'll be needing Node.js. I can go on and on and on and on, right? All of those have been put together in one platform, one stack, one unified way. This is where the industry is going to transform and standardize on the usage and the patterns so that we can give you in much more better consumable way to you guys and to our internal development teams for building enhanced industry applications.
Excellent. Anurag?
So once again, from BTP point of view, obviously, I wouldn't talk in front of all gurus and experts, so to speak, and so on, right? But from once again, from a business architecture / technology, I would look at what BTP offers. And then I had been last couple of months, I had been working with the team significantly in this platform. I look at this platform provides 2 things distinctively. One is tools, right? Ready-made, pre-built things. Tools are there, and then services. And then I break these services also into 2 parts. I say you can have a platform as a service, and then you can have the software as a service. You can use this, right? So I see, and then I already said one more thing, that name the technology. I think you would find it here, right? So given all this, and then having the pre-built content, I think there is a huge scope for this, and adoption is already happening. And then this is in my mind, if I don't carry any tag along, or the company's tag along independent architect, I think is a perfect example to give answer to some of those competitions wherein SAP was actually facing, in my view. and there was questions coming up, and now we have an answer to not only to help continue to enable customers. See, the goal here is not just the competition in my mind. I think a lot of customers, name the customers. I am guessing, I may not have the statistics, but I wouldn't say that out of top 1,000 companies, maybe 95% or 99% maybe are already on SAP in some form or the other. So that means there is a huge exit barrier for these companies. There is a huge investments already done. That SAP runs the business basically. So when SAP runs the business and then having a cloud-enabled business, the technologies and enabling the business to do things, I think this is a perfect example wherein there's a natural extension going into that and then really addressing what business is looking for. Yeah. At the end of the day, we are serving business, right? Somehow or the other, we are leading to that. So I think this is going to go up in my opinion, and it should go up. If I look at just talking as an architect by heart, then this is a great platform.
Thank you. Next question is, in terms of words of wisdom, key takeaways, what would you tell to our audience, virtual as well as on-site here, in terms of BTP?
For me, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So it's a little bit a no-brainer kind of a thing for our existing SAP customers or existing BTP. Explore further additional capabilities, like Vikas was saying, discovery, and just go ahead and try to enable more services for your account and try to explore and try to experience the outcomes of it. For net new customers, subscribe to a trial version and explore a deep dive and learn more about the platform and what you cannot achieve through other products can be enabled through a BTP. Yeah. I mean, sorry, Vikas, if I'm selling your product, which otherwise it should be your lines. So.
Absolutely.
Vikas.
Yep. So, I mean, to add to what Jagan mentioned, I mean, all I would say is go to the Discovery Center. There are these guided procedure to build your application. So look in those. And most importantly, if you've not seen that, there is a free tier offering. So you don't need to pay to use it to start it, right? In fact, quite a few customers have starting to use that as their dev environment. So you build it, you run it, you try it, and then say, okay, I like it now, I can move it to my QA in production and showcase this, right? So use this as a free tier offering, sign up, look at the Discovery Center, and then progress, yeah.
All right. Anurag?
In addition to this, I would say this platform offers even open source also. I think if people want to go into free tier and set up as a account and then start doing it, if they have an existing application also, they can port it very easy, right? That's what we have done at McKinsey. We had a couple of applications which we started building, and then thankfully, the custom offshore factory, so to speak, was building those applications, and then I wasn't really paying attention because it's not my line of business. McKinsey, it's something else. And then this came into my visibility. I started importing all this into McKinsey back, and then those applications are addressing a couple of areas. And this was very exciting, like even the open source, then now we are converting into Fiori or UI5. But Node.js is the one area which works as open source, right? That open source is now part of this here, where in between the HANA Cloud and then Fiori, the Node.js APIs are used. Some of the people might be obviously familiar. Techies, technology people, they'll be familiar. And then coming integration backend with the SAP, then of course we have our data services which are working. So point I'm driving home is here, not only the accelerators and all, you can start with anything, small, nimble, you have existing application, port it, try it, test it, develop, start small. And then if it finds a home, then you are helping business, then automatically it'll get build upon and sucked up into the actual applications.
No, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Great insight. At this time, I would like to open up for anyone in our audience at virtual or on the grounds here. If there are any questions you would like to ask our panelists. That's it. I would like to thank the panelists and thank you everyone for giving their time this evening we have upwards of 75 plus people at some point in today's evening sessions in the online, as well as the number of people who came here. We would like to thank you for your time. So with that, today's event is a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone. All right.
Thank you very much. And then thank you, Raj, for wonderful moderation. Appreciate the time and effort. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.